Hello, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Hidden Truths channel. How's everybody doing today or this evening? Hope you're doing well. Well, tonight we're going to talk about, on tonight's live stream, about too big to fail or jail, you might want to say. Should be an interesting conversation. If YouTube sends out some notification, stuff like that, puts it on feed, let some people see it. Oh yeah, we're going to go all the way back to 2008, to the financial crisis when we got to hear that term. But anyway, yeah, we're going to talk about that tonight. So anyway, crazy times, right? So I hope everybody's ready for what the future might bring. Things could get a little crazy this summer. The Guardian, hi, how to see you. Hey, Carol, how's it going? Glad everybody's here. I think we might have a interesting live stream tonight. You saw the title, so kind of hot under the collar about all this crazy shit that's going on. Two-tiered justice system, and now we got people in this country that can't fail because they're too big. Hey, J99, good to see ya. I'm going to make you a moderator of this channel too while you're here. Anyway, one thing about moderating, guys, you know, if you're trying to be serious, anyway, you guys do your thing. Carol, you've been with me a long time. You guys know what's up. We definitely don't want to deal with Joey. So I appreciate y'all being here, and give it a few more seconds, get some more people in here, and we will get into the subject because it's going to be a good one. This is something that us Americans have had to listen to for a long time. And, 2008 was stupid. But anyway, all righty. Well, let's get in the subject anyway. Too big to fail or jail. That's the type of country we live in now. Back in 2008, when the stock market was about to collapse and, we had the presidential election going on, and John McCain said everything was fine just a couple of weeks before the election. And then everything went to hell. Then we had billionaires in the street that own these businesses saying that if we don't get billions of dollars from the taxpayers real quick, we're going to have people with pitchforks and torches in the streets and stuff. So then we got to hear the term, we had to come to the American taxpayer had to come to the rescue. That's when they passed their first $1 trillion bill. By the way, that's when we heard the term too big to fail. Too big to fail. So that means, does too big to fail mean that I'm too small to succeed or too little to succeed? If you're in a big business, just like any business, if you run it into the ground, it fails. And then somebody else with more common sense and more business sense takes your place and fills that vacuum. That's how it works. That's the capitalist system. But no, they had to run to the American taxpayer. Too big to fail. Maybe they should have been investigated for running their countries into their companies into the ground, and basically making it so they had to borrow all that money from the government to make everything financially solid again. All the money they gave to the banks and stuff. This is what happens when you take in $1 and borrow $100 against it. What they call that, fractionary loan, whatever. That's crazy time. You should never, ever sit there and loan out more money you have, and then you still need to save money for expenses. By the way, fractional lending, isn't that what they call that? But, that's, hey, how's it going, Amanda? Good to see you here. Hey, Carol, I didn't see the message you had to erase. Was it our buddy Joey? But anyway, yeah, you get it here. These people are too big to fail. So from now on, their families, their kids, their grandkids, and everybody going to be literally born with a silver spoon in their mouth because of those people that ran their company into the ground and needed all that money. If we don't have them running businesses, well, the country's just going to go to hell. Like I say, maybe they should have failed. And then another other guy could have took up. They had to liquidate their assets and go into bankruptcy just like everybody else. But the government came in and saved the big guy because he was too big to fail, while the little guy got stuck with the bill. Now, they say all those banks and institutions paid that money back with interest. I don't remember the taxpayers getting any interest. But that's where all this stuff started, putting people in a different category than the average citizen. I mean, I don't like that Alex Soros, George Soros' kid, who sits there and flashes money and to basically, saying whoever wants to do in Trump, here's your money and stuff. They get away with that. Well, why shouldn't they? I mean, they're too big to fail, right? Too big to fail. And now we've seen where that's led to. Too big to fail means they're too big to jail now, aren't they? That's why Alex Soros could have done what he did. If I were to do that on YouTube, lay out a bunch of money and say, hey, this is what I want done. Whoever does it, there's your money. I would be in big trouble. Not these people. That's just the little things we're doing. Okay. The little things these people are doing. These people are completely out of control. We have to ride. I don't know what you mean by that. We have to ride what? But how can these people be so big to fail that we can't even jail them for their crimes? We can't even expose their crime. I don't want to see the Epstein list. I really don't care to see the Epstein list. Start arresting the people on the Epstein list. That's what you need to do. Okay? Keep it to yourself. If we start seeing all these politicians and world leaders and movie stars and stuff getting arrested, we'll all figure it out. We don't need a picture drawn for us. But now these elites are just completely above the law. Could you imagine knowing that you had no repercussions for your actions, whether it be financially or criminally? If you screw up financially, the American taxpayer just comes, bails you out. If you screw up criminally, well, there is no Epstein list. That will never happen, just like with Diddy. No. Like I made a video about this. Why the Epstein list will never be released. About 3 months ago, I did this video. It will just decapitate all governments. Royalty. I mean, kind of power back. I mean, I'm not defending them that they need to do it. And the world is going to be totally turned upside down for a while. And you may have little warlords pop up here and there. And people will be fighting for their freedom. But at least our kids will be protected. Like I say, all these kids that disappear in this country every year, right? Memphis Morning Owen Service. Hey, I was there in, what the hell is that town north of Memphis at the naval base, that school base? God, I can't even remember. It's just north of Memphis on that main road going out of Memphis. Truth always comes out one way or another. Yeah, but they should protect it with a bodyguard of lies. I mean, I don't know where anybody's coming out and thinking they're going to believe that there's no list. And everybody, the Democrats, nothing but silence. Silence from everybody except the people that voted for Trump. Because he said the list was going to come out. I don't even know what to say about that. Okay. Yeah, I look like a cokehead, don't I? Looks like I get up every morning. I couldn't even afford to do that. You know, that's one thing about being poor and humble. You can't sit there and afford to do all the bad habits that a lot of other people have. I guess that's one thing good about it, huh? Keeping yourself poor and humble also keeps yourself out of trouble and bad habits. Anyway, whatever. But you know, this too big to fail and too big to jail. Boy, they're basically just allowed to do what the hell ever they want, right? All I know is these kids that are disappearing in this country, the hundreds of thousands of kids every year that disappear. Okay, where do you think they're going? I remember that one case, where was it? This British couple that lost their 5 or 6 year old beautiful blonde little girl. Where the hell was that? Spain or something? And they were trying to say the parents killed her. You know, of course they never got tried, but that was their way of investigating, when the police probably knew what happened to that little girl. But yeah, where do you think it happened? That were to happen now, you know, it's pretty obvious what happened to it. There's a lot of sick people in this world. Sick people, rules for this, not for me. Two-tier justice. Yeah, but I'm tired of it. Do you think I'm listening to these sons of bitches? No more. Absolutely no more. I mean, yeah, I wear my seatbelt because it's safe. All right? Especially when you get on the road with today's drivers. I'm a good driver, but I know a lot of other people out there ain't really paying attention. So I do it to protect myself from somebody else. It's not like I'm going to go out ditch hopping and stuff like that. Anyway, bringing these people to justice, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be? But who's going to prosecute them? Half the judges are probably in this. I mean, all the people that need to enforce, that will be required to investigate and enforce the laws on this, most of them are probably involved. I had enough of it, and I'm only 40, and I can't imagine another 20. Yeah, I know. This is nothing, exactly the way I look at it. Do you think I want to sit there and spend another 40, 50 years on this earth with it progressively getting worse every day? But eventually it'll get to a point where, well, you're not helping society out enough. You lived a long life. You know, just stop coming to the doctor, okay? We're strong patriots. Amanda will get through it. Yeah. I mean, you know, this channel is about coming together. Everybody realizing that we're all on the same side, trying to get rid of the division between everybody that have blinders on so they can see the real enemy. Like I say, if you don't know who your real enemy is, your enemy's going to tell you who your enemy is. Hence, politicians on TV telling you to hate your neighbor. So, anyway, looks like YouTube's really clamped down on my live stream again tonight. I tell you what, it's crazy the world we live in. I never thought in a million years that when I was going to high school in the Marine Corps, the country would turn into what it is now. And then if you want to sit there and change it and stand up for truth and justice in the American way, you're told to be tolerant. You're told you're supposed to be quiet, like Trump said. What are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein for? Really? Because we know you're lying through your ass. Whatever the reason is. There is no reason big enough where I couldn't be prosecuted for my crimes. Okay, but like I say, the people in charge of everything are the ones that are guilty. What, are they going to arrest themselves? It's a bunch of shit. This is all the American people's fault. Like I say, I saw this in 94 when I got out of the Marine Corps. It's like I was looking into the damn crystal ball that was as clear as a TV. And for years and years, I tried to tell people and convince people what was coming. And by my second wife, the mother of my children, thought I was crazy and stuff, all this. Basically divorced me because of the way I talked. And now she sees the writing on the wall and she talks the same way. And it wasn't because she was married to me. It was because she finally opened her eyes. Like I say, I don't need to go to YouTube and see the crazy shit that's going on in the world to get me excited. I live in small town America. I just got to go to local Walmart. Anyway, you know, all this putting us below these people. Like I say, too big to fail means this guy's too little to succeed. In order for a little guy to move up the ladder when there's no room up on top, what's got to happen? If the people up on top fail, they get chopped. And then somebody smarter with a smarter business takes over. Like I say, in 2008, where were all the investigations on the companies like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that needed all this money? Where were the investigations about where the money went? Nope, too big to fail. You guys got to give them $1 trillion. I believe that one. If it wasn't $1 trillion, it was really close. I know it started out like 700 billion, then it got up to 900 billion, and it just kept growing. You know, that's one thing when they talk about passing a bill, it'll start at a certain amount, and as they keep talking about it, it keeps rising. You know, so DC has to loosen that belt a little bit after they gorged themselves. Bring back the Minutemen. I'm already there. This is one thing about this channel too. If you are been in the service and you know tactics and stuff, even if you've been through just boot camp, you're more skilled than a lot of other people out there. You know, we need to start coming in small units together locally. Okay, get your friends together, create a fire team, then get your squad together, then get a platoon together, and grow like that instead of trying to sit there and have a whole battalion that just show up at your door. The thing is, they're trying to do the frog in the water pot thing. Slowly and slowly turn it up. And then every once in a while they turn it up too high, like say, there's no Epstein files. And people get really excited. So we got to slow it down a little bit. Hopefully they don't do no crazy, try to distract us with some crazy crap over this. It doesn't matter, okay? At one time the Epstein list existed, now it don't no more, okay? And if anybody thinks Epstein worked on his own and didn't blackmail or extort anybody, and he just had billions of dollars of cash in his apartment with no job or nothing. Oh, and the IRS didn't seem concerned about all that money either, did they? Strange, huh? Yeah, damn right he was a intelligence asset. CIA is so crooked, so crooked. But maybe one day we'll cure all that. That's one thing about the CIA. You can defund them, but they got so much illegal money coming in. Like I say, they can tell everywhere I've been with my phone, who I called, when I called, whatever. But they can't tell people that are trying to scam people, right? They can't trace those numbers or nothing. I wonder if maybe it's because they're getting 75% of the money. So the CIA is probably never, ever going to go away. It's going to be a piece of shit agency that'll always be around. Not government funded, but illegally funded, like half their operations are now. Anyway, we've been at here 20 minutes, huh? Yeah, I tell you what, you know when you're over the target. You know when you sat there and I'm not pissing off liberals no more. I'm pissing off the AI algorithm. I've gotten into the AI head. I tell you what, AI is going to start looking at me like I'm John Connor. And all I got to say is bring the shit on. Just another way we're going down the wrong path. By the way, I'm sick of this being a second-class citizen in my own country. And I got to sit there and take second seat to somebody that's got not more ability or more skills or anything in the real world where he would be out beneath me. But because he got in a position where he ripped off more money from people, got rich and powerful. But in the real natural selection world, they'd never survive. So, I'm just sick of taking second seat, like out here in Nebraska where we live, okay? Out basically, which is Wyoming. We got to sit there and be ruled by Omaha and Lincoln. Brain dead, and that's what's coming out here. Even with the banking years ago here was small town bank. I mean, the bank, it was just small town bank. I loved it. And all that's changed. All that changed over the years. Big conglomerates bought out the banks, kept the same name, but all the policies changed. Where you're no longer, oh, hi, Tom. They look at you. Can I get your account number? They don't even know who you are. One thing I like is to be able to sit there and, know the people at the bank and don't have a problem with them. Okay, they're already implanting all AI in humans that are quadriplegic. That's a good purpose for it. There's good purposes for everything. It's when the evil people get in charge of the shit. Okay? I think we should do everything we can. But, it goes too far. See, they sit there and tell us the good things with it. Well, they sit there with their left hand, they're doing the bad things with it. So, see that lightning behind me? That's what's going on there. That ain't no light. So, but you could think of a name. Thank you. But, I remember back in the 70s, remember when Chrysler was going under and Lee Iacocca took over, and Chrysler needed $1 billion or they were going to have to close their doors. And it was a big old fuss in the government for a while, and they decided to give them. But Lee Iacocca was a smart man, took Chrysler around. But, he made a lot of cars for the government. That's why when I was in the military, there was a lot of Chrysler K cars that were driving around that civilians and stuff would drive. So, but anyway, welcome to our two-tiered. I look at Alex Soros, right? And it's like, there's no way that piece of shit is ever going to tell me how to live. Or any of these kids of these rich pricks. We need to start enforcing the law in this country. Hello, Abyss. Yes, the country's had to do Abyss. I like the name. At the speed of light. I mean, what do you think's actually going to get us first? What do you think's finally going to hang these criminals that run our country? What do you think's going to finally take for the American citizen to have had enough and start taking our country back, okay? And no matter where these suckers, what country they go to, they're not going to be able to hide. Because this is the thing. Every country connected to the U.S. dollar, when our dollar collapses and our economy collapses, their economies are going to collapse. So basically what I'm saying is, when the dollar collapses and your country's not connected to the BRICS system, you might have a little bit of problems in your country with inflation, third world status, no more social programs, that type of stuff. You get to understand what people in mud hut, like Obama's brother lives in a mud hut. You'll be able to understand what those people are like. Did everybody forget about where Barack Obama lived? He didn't even have a pair of shoes. Give me some shoes, buddy. I want some shoes, Mr. President. Come on, bro. Give me some shoes. Okay. I just want to know how come all of Barack Obama's relatives are foreign nationals. Irresponsible government spending and zero accountability these days. Yep. Because we allow it. You know, you can't get Americans together all on the same page. Imagine if we get together, everybody said, you know, your employers, we're just going to stop paying taxes. We're going to give it to you, the employee. We're going to still give the money out, but we're not giving it to the government. Just totally cut the government off. No money at all. Oh, that'd be sweet. You know, that'd be drastic change. Maybe we could sit there and get the country back without firing a shot. Use our so-called greenbacks to do the revolution. But, you know, people have bills to pay. They can't do that. Somebody like me, I can say, jump up and say, I'll do that. I can survive a few months like that, no problem. Oh, now we got the power flashing. So cool. Must be storming outside, huh? I tell you what, when the storms hit today, I was sleeping in my chair this afternoon, had the windows open, and it woke me up just the difference in the smell in the air. No sound or nothing, but it was just like crazy how a difference in even the littlest thing can wake somebody up. But it felt good. The dog sure enjoyed it. As you saw, that one of mine, life on fast forward. You know, that's the thing about YouTube. I want to be entertaining too. I want to do stuff that makes people laugh instead of get on here and get all rough and grumpy and stuff. Okay? You know, instead of having to turn into Alex Jones. You know, there'll be time for all that nastiness later. Hey, how's it going? Men evolve. Well, they've been trying to sit there and make men de-evolve for many years. And, you know, let's just say the younger generation's having problems with this masculinity. So, you know, that's one thing you brought that up. Men evolve. Masculinity. In most cultures, men they do something to prove their manhood. Okay, I went into service. I feel I proved my manhood. But we got a lot of men out here that haven't. 30 and below for sure. They've never been challenged. You know, and it's tough as a male dealing with other younger bulls that haven't proven themselves yet. A young bull that's proven himself to me doesn't challenge me. A young bull that hasn't proven himself challenges me. And I'm going to be 58 years old next month. Remember that left's attack on masculinity. Yeah, I know. I know. You know, we got it where men are competing in women's sports. How much lower can you go than that? And they're proud of the trophies they get. Same age as my fiance. Your fiance? Well, cool. Does he get crazy as I am, grumpy old man? You know, that's one thing. You ladies got to understand. All us men, you know, for a time we turn into that, go back to our childhood boys stage, and then we like transfer into that grumpy old man stage. Like that movie, okay? I don't know. It's a human thing. Had to get older, couldn't go younger, something different about them. I always say there's a reason why women are becoming lesbians, because there's no men out there no more. No, I've been divorced 3 times. Yeah, I don't. I don't know, maybe I'm just too hard to put up with and stuff. Or maybe I'm just like I say, I don't live a high maintenance life. I live a very simple and humble and poor life. I like being poor and humble. And use a wringer washer from the 50s and stuff. Where am I going to get a woman to do that? But, I've tried to change 3 times for women and never worked out. Anyway, but I'm glad you found somebody to be with. Because there's, I don't know, it's just the younger generation, especially these young women. Okay, I've got daughters. Okay, do I need to go in the problems that they've had with their younger boyfriends? That's why I got one now that just had a baby that's with somebody 19 years older than her. And my oldest daughter is with somebody now that's like 11 years older than her. And my other daughter's had it with men. Okay. But, don't change for anyone. It's what I've learned. Yeah. When I can find somebody that accepts me for me, like my dogs do, like my horses do, okay? I've yet to really find a lot of human beings, but, that's why I'm a lone wolf too. That's why I know it's best for me not to be in a mag, because this is the thing. No civilian should be subject to anybody that was in the military, got screwed up, has PTSD, and it's not like I haven't heard it before, where you just want to sit there. They should have threw us all on an island so we could have lived in our foxholes and had break glass in case of emergency and bring us back out. I mean, I isolate myself for a reason too. I don't like upsetting people. And I don't like going out and having discussions like I did with people today that are so stupid that they think the euro is the world reserve currency. I walked in the room, the fart got over just because I'm a girl. It's called fluffy. That's what my first wife told me. She was a blonde from Cocoa Beach, Florida. Anyway, it's called fluffing. Anyway, well, I tell you what, I'll have a good time here with you guys. See, I don't mind getting on. I got a feeling that you guys are a lot like me, where you don't fit in a crowd, okay? And you excel by yourself better. People may not have the same drive or ambition that you do to achieve your goals. And where they get mad at you because, what, do you think you are better than me? No, I'm just more motivated. So, some lied to you, the Guardian. Anyway, but hey, I'm going to call it a night. I don't know. I may take tomorrow off. I may have to give YouTube a day, give them a break from the old hidden truths, because there's too much truth getting out. So this is another thing. I know both sides are in cahoots. You talk about the Epstein list, they slammed down on that video. Do you hear the news at all? The mainstream media getting on Trump about the Epstein list? You mean Trump actually did something where the mainstream media isn't going to say one single thing, derogatory thing about it? Crazy time. It's just like when you see a pharmaceutical commercial, the last half of the commercial is telling you everything that particular medication can do wrong, what could do wrong to you. It's side effect stuff. But there's only one thing that the pharmaceutical companies have ever made that is perfect. There's not one single side effect. It's the most perfect thing that everybody needed to get around the 220 time frame and stuff. Not one single side effect. Isn't that amazing? I'm glad they finally got perfect. And I'm not the only one crazy. I'm always checked to see if you're on, Tom. I was listening to you. At least you make sense. Well, maybe we weren't allowed to lie when we were growing up. We had to listen to the truth. And I just, the thing is, I just happen to see some people that watch me on YouTube don't live in the Twilight Zone, or we all live in the Twilight Zone, but we're all the characters running around thinking, how the hell can we change this? I'm still firm to my oath that I took in the Marine Corps. I took it more than once. And I'll stand true to that oath. When our George Washington comes along and we have a leader, okay, I'll be right there. But right now, obviously, we got the birds, the feathers of the same bird, protecting each other. Anyway, I'm going to get going before I start getting nuts about it because, like I say, too big to fail, too big to jail. And nobody's allowed in that club anymore except for their kids. Isn't that great? How long do you think our country's going to last? I just want to know what their main goal is. To exterminate us all? I don't know. That's one part I haven't figured out yet. I just don't know why people would want to be in charge of a bunch of people that can't think. It's just crazy time. But too big to fail, too big to jail. These are the people that are ruling us and telling us how to live our lives and shaping our culture and society. So, anyway, the roller coaster ride isn't quite over yet, is what I'm saying. It's going to get a lot rougher. But I'm willing to climb whatever hill I have to come down hard on the enemy. If you live just to exist in America, you're not living an American dream. Did you watch that short I made? If you live to exist in this country, you don't live the American dream. I made a short like that just today. Break us down when no one knows the truth from the lies. I know. It's like nobody cares anymore. I mean, is it? Like I say, you can go out your door, especially if you live in a more populated area than I do. And let's say you live in like New York and you can just walk 10 feet and see the disease and still think everything's fine. I don't know how, but a lot of people were convinced by Goebbels' propaganda too. When the cities are being bombed and stuff, things are going to turn around, we're going to have final victory and stuff. And I guess some of us just are a little bit more coherent thinkers or something. Or, we're just a little clairvoyant. I don't know what it is. A little bit more common sense, a little bit more educated, a little bit more about history. Whatever it is, we can see through the veil. We see the forest through the trees. And when you're trying to convince somebody what you're looking at, and let's say they think the world currency, reserve currency is the euro, you ain't getting nowhere. Okay? Anyway, that's all I got for this evening. Like I say, I don't know if I'm going to put anything out tomorrow. I may just take the day off, give the algorithm some time to take a few deep breaths, go talk to my favorite buddy, Jeffrey, and say, what do you think we should do? This guy, and Jeffrey's going to say, put him on. Like I say, 100,000 views in 8 days, 200 subscribers in 8 days, and all of a sudden, okay. Don't worry, there's nothing to see here, just like there's no Epstein list. Anyway, Everybody have a great night and enjoy your spot in the tier system of our justice system, okay? Everybody have a great evening. Talk to you later.